제모도 등미정 문음 진보가 된다. 당그르 당감산도 절물도 돈바득지 전화기 좀살 샹치스와 데무키 메반 더는 데아도 샹이츠 사위치 더는 데아도 더는 데와고 집샤나 니데 강이시신더 넘버 더비셔 정탐저 당자장 로남 카동 somber 남치바 니스메 브르지바오 샹치스와 찌메티 샹치스와 상케 로루지메 반더는 소파동 제반더는 조바동메 강년반이지 주토베 조바메 핀디시니즈메베 시바강만 바nom년반년 년반년 토바강메 짱디시심더 바메 버테스터 강든징바데나 니스메바오 샹치스와 찌메지 메반더는 직텐 바원더는 직텐 데바고 지샤니 덴직텐 디랑진 동화텔라 총스경 거라멘 직바멘 로아강멘 만로아강메 강라 먹거라 만직바 만로아 로아강메 바니스메 버는직바고 샹치스와 샹치스와 화로주무즈 바지 쉐베 메바 렘바동 탐진 김반녀의 용수무와 대니 대진빙오원녀 탐진 김바고 탐진 김빙오원녀의 용수무와 대신도 저점당 조바당 존재당 상당 시럽 탐진 김반녀의 용수무와 대는 니소 탐진 김반 시립지랑 전노 용수무와 탐진 김비랑 전대 강서럭지바대랑 지바대는 니스메 바란지바고 샹집스와 로즈업기 네바 동반열레 잠밤 사마메 바동 몽바메 바동 양제 에너지자 니데 동바강연바 되는 잠마강연메 도 잠마메 발라 몽바메도 몽바메 발라 셈바동 예도 넘버 지버디어 메테건 넘버 타로 수크고 텔라요 넘버 타로 탐치지고 용수 따버셔 되는 니스메 비르고른지바고 샹집스와 왕보 집셔 샹집스와 왕보 집에 메바 상계당 주당 긴단노 집샤가 니데 상디디 랑전의 추소 주디 랑전의 게는데 대탐지장 디마시에서 디마시에는 남카 고 주탐지기 처르는 남카 dom송데 데르타베양 지선로와 되는 니스메 바고 장주성와 도바메 비므게 메바 도바메 비므크 메바 도바메 비므그 메바 직속당 직속 고바 집샤가 되는 니데 직속은 직속 고바고 대 집샤제는 직속저다 마티장 강타와 대란 직속고 직속은 고고지 머토테 되는 머토바단 넘버 머토바단 신도 머토벤 고베랑전도 이르때 맘중와 만직바는 니스메버 니스메 바고지 소 니소지소 장주상와 신도 터베메바 리당거당 이지 돈바지샤나 니데 티지저제나 춘도 양덕버 몸브른도 맙시빔 사마메바 리기 몸브른도 맙시비 강임바 강금 몸브른도 맙시다야티 산여도 이지 몸브른도 맙시바강 팀산여데 강탐지 몸브른도 맙시바테 임버시버샤테 지서 버샤테 강달람 몸브른도 맙시버시바테 니스메바란지바고 샹주상와 소름 징거메바 소름당 소름 마임바다 모요 몸버 시아와 문도 시에도 집샤가 되는 니데가 소놈당 소놈 마임바도 모요와 문도 맙시바 되는 니스메바고 소놈당 소놈 마임바도 모요한도 맙시비랑 검사니 통바티 텔랍 소놈 장메드 소놈 마임바요 메드 모요와요 메드 몸브르도 시바요 메드 근거 데르타나 마브르바 되는 니스메발란지바고 장주상와 밥먹고 바지 잡에 메바 덕근에 동아래 끼바 되는 니데 덕 용스시바 되는 니멀롱오 데르타다 니스메바 Konebala rigba me per number rigba me bateno nisme balanji bawo jaju sanwa khwarji nyambur me ba mugbe rap ta chega no ninso kan ma mugba nisme parte ti shirda kan lemba me chantora me bateno nisme bawo jaju sanwa davi la me ba mamba no aji shara no ni de mamba me ba no me bateno nisme bawo ti jiju na understand gober nyambur jigba mamba yo me da no ayo me da chutamji dim sama me 바데 강년반년 란지바데 강년반년 란지바 니스메 발란지바고 상주성과 랑나 셔디아름보지 메바 닝을렌데바 몸버 가장 코라라 마가노니티 닌데 발라 가장 코라라 마가나니데 닝을 데발아야 몽버가 멜랑코라라 먹가 메바노 니스 메바고 디지지나 강정와레 조르 단지고 신도 마정와레 타라 가라 조르 마정와 마주르 게르농 긍거 가다 먹가 용마니테테노 니스 메발란지 바고 샹츠생화 샹츠생화 노르츠바 노르츠바 지브제 메바 람당 람감바 샤바나 니테 람드직바 람감바는 먹조도 먹조발랑네 바나 람긴도 시스마 람마임반도 시스마 겨로데 시용서 르바노 로니즈만 지테 때는 니즈메 바난 지바고 샹수상과 덴멘메바 덴바도 덴바집샤나 니테 덴반 통회장 르즘바양 딱바니 뜻지스멈 통하는 즘바타 깔람 통티 집시르제나 리 시므금 통회 시럽지 먹금 통때 저들 먹금 통화 몸통화 때는 몸통오 강 통화양 매더 넘버럼 통화양 매바 때는 있으면 발란지법 데이터 유전 주선 화때 더가랑랑 급단 발샤는 자고르 존의 결혼들 그치 메소 자고르 존 주선 있으면 발란지법 강이 자고르 지메바 기어단 바께 남기장 러버메 메 모치 체치 샤바테 타바나 니소 담바치그나 마토바테 조파메 조토메 바르말메 바샤메 바르도메 바탄도메 바 덕스메바 데노 니스메바고 데는 자고르 존의 결별로 잠바 쯤마메바 쪽발은 들키지 메소 고어적 랑랑급단 바셰트 전나 르기고 교경 니스메비 추지르고 교경 니스메비 추지르고 담발레 포브르지 시게테니 자베 쯤마메바 쪽베 좀 머마버 결도 데는 자고르 존의 결 일르잠바 쯤마메바 쪽발로 럭소 지자전의 럭소 르기원도는 샹주상화 남지 니스메바란지 바인데 테라 이게당 자당 넘버 르비게메 르지아메바고 담반도 샤바는 샹주상화 얼가스동 니스메비 추기 고르 지게 머티위 출랍도바 토버르 겨도 니스메비 추르고는 지벨레게 야파고
We'll start on the Vimalakirti Sutra. But before this class, I would like to make a few short announcements. First is about the Sangha member over here who are planting, we should plant more trees here, and I think you're doing very well, because we actually shipped many trees all the way to here, but not many people were very active in terms of planting the trees. Therefore, I had to advertise the merits of planting trees in class. And right after talking about the merits, I think everyone then wanted to plant trees, and it works. But I think lots of you are not planting trees, rather you're killing the trees. I saw lots of the holes that you dig. You dig the holes on top of rocks. Trying to have some miraculous growth, only hoping for some miraculous growth coming from the trees. But I think it's really just a good wish. Anyhow, I hope that the trees that you plant you should then take care of them, water them when it's too dry outside. Of course, there are different conditions. When it's too hot, when it's really sunny, then you should water it around evening and protect it not to let the yaks eating your tree or stepping onto your tree. Your tree of life, tree of wisdom, tree of merit, whatever you see it, I think you should pay close attention to it and show lots of care to this tree. And it's a really great dependent origination for your future. Maybe after 10 or 20 years, you come back and look at the tree. At that time, the tree is already really prosperous, and maybe at that time you are a Dharma master, or you can enter into nirvana under the tree as well. I saw some people planting the trees very closely together, and maybe they have a very different idea or plan for their tree to grow. If you really want to plant trees, you should really do some research and look for how deep you should dig the hole, how wide it should be, and what kind of soil you should use. It's very easy to find those information online nowadays. Of course, maybe the trees on Tibetan Plateau and the trees that's growing in mainland also have some differences. When Phuntsog Rinpoche was still with us, we planted lots of trees around Phuntsog Rinpoche's retreat hut. At that time, we had different groups, and then we planted lots of trees by group. We also planted around the west and as well as the south part of the mountains. But those trees didn't really grow. I think that's because maybe there's some movement and it wasn't protected properly. So I really hope that you would take care of the trees that you planted. I think most of you made some contribution to this tree planting. So that was the short announcement before class, and then we'll continue with the Vimalakirti Sutra. We are currently on the chapter where it talks about non-duality. Different bodhisattvas talks about give different teachings over here, which many of them seem very familiar. But in fact, the angles are very different, especially because of our capacities are very different. Therefore, the teachings are different. Just as some people, when they see the teaching of self and no self, they will get enlightened. And when some people look at the teaching or studying the teaching of the unconditioned and conditioned teachings, they will get enlightened. So the great bodhisattvas, based on different people's capacity, they give different teachings. And out of all these teachings, you can pick and choose the ones that you're interested in. Because over here we have 31 bodhisattvas, and then there's the Vimalakirti and Manjushri. So together, 33 bodhisattvas. When you see 33 bodhisattvas over there and 33 different types of teachings, If you don't feel anything from all of them, then your mind is quite solid or quite stubborn. If you still hold on to your delusional perception, then I think as a sentient being, you must be very deluded and very confused. As sentient beings, in fact, not only to the duality that we grasp onto very solidly, nowadays there are so many mirage or so many deluded manifestations in this world. This year, what I notice is that people are so drawn to the internet. This is quite dangerous. And people don't even want to eat, don't want to sleep, and they'll play games all day and all night. Probably not here in Larongar, but in the cities. Lots of students and even lots of young people from different walks of life in society. What they do is just clicking on the computers and playing games. And they're all internet related. So this group over here and the other group over there, they're all playing games together. And I think nowadays the internet gaming is one of the most dangerous things in our age. Therefore, I think we should avoid of such kind of delusion. We are already in the delusion of samsara, and on top of that, we are grasping on something that is even more delusional, that is like a mirage. If you hold on to such a mirage so solidly, then you are in a great danger. As Shantideva said, that nowadays all the people with so much delusion, they are all around the world, all over the world. So it's quite important to develop faith towards Buddha Dharma, and on top of that, then you should force yourself into the realm of Dharma rather than walking away from it. I was reading the Tripitaka, and over there it talks about, there's a story about the maturation of karma. Within it, there's a verse in it, and I thought it was really wonderful. It says that the human body is very difficult to obtain. It is hard to give rise to the faith of Dharma, and it is hard to give rise to kind heart. And it is hard to listen to the Dharma. So, once we obtain this precious human body, then you can observe how many people around this world are Dharma practitioners, are Buddhists, are listening to the correct Dharma. Out of the 7 billion of human population, just out of these such a big number of population, how many people are listening to the Dharma, to be able to encounter Dharma? It is quite precious and rare. And even if you already encountered the Dharma, how many people have the mind to listen or to accept the Dharma, to have the interest of listening and practicing the Dharma? You can also observe on that. On top of that, how many people out of this group of people who are practicing the Dharma, the number of people who attain enlightenment through the Dharma is very rare as well. Therefore, I think all of us should have this cherishing mind to listen to the Vimalakirti Sutra, have this persistence to listen to this class. And I think right before every class, you should contemplate that this is very possibly to be the last class that I listen to be the last sutra that I listen to. And once you contemplate in such a way, then you will give rise to this mind of cherishing the Dharma. Our class is free, and many people will feel that since it's free, then it doesn't really have anything that's worth to listen to. Especially in the West, I think that's how people's mentalities are. If they feel that if it's a free class, then it doesn't have value. But the value inside this sutra, in the profound meaning inside this sutra, is completely different than those of the classes on the internet and so on. Let's look at how much the teachers charge for extracurricular classes. I'm not saying that the classes should not be free, and if it's free, it's not good. But I think in the West, this is a common mentality. Anyhow, that's not the point. The point is, whenever you listen to this class, although this is free, but you should recognize its great value that this sutra inherits, and you should recognize that this Mahayana Sutra has the method to give you liberation. Therefore, I really think that you should continue to listen to this class without interruption. If you are really occupied with other things in this world, then and you had to miss one or two classes, then you could ask people, some Kempos, some Dharma teachers, and then listen to their oral transmissions so that you receive the perfect oral transmission. Lots of great masters in Tibet, lots of great practitioners in Tibet, they attach great importance to oral transmission. And once you have such great importance towards the oral transmission, and once you receive the oral transmission, the power and the understanding towards the sutra is very different. I'm not sure how long we'll be able to still study this sutra. But I have this mind of cherishing this sutra very much because I feel that it's very difficult to say whether if I'll still have such opportunity to teach this Dharma. I'm not sure how many people will still listen to this class. What are the favorable conditions to attend this class? Will this condition to still be there or not? It's very hard to say. And my health is very uncertain. I'm not sure if I'll still be able to teach this. And under all those circumstances, we still have this opportunity to study in this sutra. Therefore, let's all give rise to the mind of cherishing this class. So with that mentality in mind, let's continue with the rest of this chapter. The first bodhisattva appears over here, or the next one over here is the bodhisattva Akshayamati, the inexhaustible mind Bodhisattva. It's inexhaustible in merits, inexhaustible in its miraculous powers, and so on. There's a sutra that's called Akshayamati Nidesa Sutra, where it talks about this bodhisattva's merit, and it gives a lot of teaching of emptiness taught by Akshayamati. I think in Europe, I met a professor. He spent a long time studying this particular bodhisattva, Akshayamati Bodhisattva. I think he studied this bodhisattva from, I think, German. I wrote this in my journal, but I can't quite remember, or nor had I had the time to look back in my journal to look or to go back to my journal to see what happened at that time. Anyhow, the sutra that's called Akshayamati Nirdasa Sutra is very profound, and whenever you have opportunity, you should study the sutra as well. When I think not many of us have the opportunity to listen to this one particular sutra throughout your whole life, but I think people should have this one practice or one sutra that you study throughout your whole life, and whenever you look back at this, and whenever you refer back at this throughout your lifetime, you will be able to receive great blessings. You could use the great magical net, or the words of my perfect teacher, or the Vajrachatika Sutra, Diamond Sutra, or any other sutras that's very famous or that interests you the most. I think everyone should have this one sutra or one teaching, or a few of those teachings, and attach great importance to such teachings throughout your whole life. Just as everyone could have many friends, but you probably have only one or two friends who are your best friends, where you can talk to them about anything. Similarly to the sutras, similarly to the Dharma, you should also have one or two sutras or teachings that interest you the most, that really helps you the most. You should spend your whole life to listen, to do research, and to study and to practice. I think this is the best way of practicing the Dharma. I see many people hold great importance to their Dharma texts. Someone hold the Larong recitation booklet. I thought, wow, the booklet are all scattered. They must be very diligent while reciting. But then they said it's not that they're diligent, it is because of the binding quality is too poor. Therefore, to avoid such a situation, I think I'm going to improve the binding quality in the future. Otherwise, I'll be fooled by their booklets, by their scattered booklet, and will mistaken them to be diligent rather than the poor quality of binding. Just as in Tibetan Buddhism, we talk about the main deity that you practice. Through the main deity's blessings, you will receive the power or the energy of practicing the pacifying, enriching, magnetizing, and destroying activities, all of those activities. Although today is a Sutrayana class, but today I would like to just touch up onto the Vajrayana a little bit. In Sutrayana, the practices are rather scattered, and in Tantrayana, in Vajrayana, we talk about the four activities, that is the pacifying, enriching, magnetizing, and destroying. Those are the four main categories, and every activity could be included in such four activities. So, whenever you adapt any practice, you should then you can categorize in such a way For example, if I really like words of my perfect teacher, then all of my activities can be guided through such book, including practice, including any worldly activities can be then conducted through the guidance of such book. What I notice from our Dharma practitioners is that they would use 1 or 2 books for a year or two. And whenever we move on to a different teaching, then they will switch their other book. They will rely upon the new book and completely forget about their old books and old teachings. I think as people who have a rather steady mind, they will have long relationship with their friends, with their gurus, with their sangha, and similarly to their dharma texts. And if you could do it in such a way, then everything you do, worldly or transmundane or transworldly activities, I think you will be able to succeed in all of them through persistence and with lots of patience. And if you could have such patience and persistence, then whatever you do, you can succeed in them. If you only have diligence for 2 or 3 days and give up after, you can't even succeed in any worldly activities. Don't mention about transworldly or transmundane activities. Therefore, that's my suggestion to all of you. So, Akshayamati Bodhisattva, then he over here talks about the generosity paramita. So he said that generosity of wealth, of wisdom, of fearlessness, and the rededication of the merit of generosity to omniscience constitute a duality. The nature of the activity of generosity is the rededication to omniscience. The nature of it is empty, threefold emptiness, and whenever we rededicate the merit to all sentient beings, then all of these action of rededication and action of generosity and the object of dedication are all empty. So similarly to the other paramitas, morality, forbearance, exertion, meditation, and wisdom, they all constitute duality with rededication to omniscience. They all have this sense of diligence, including diligence and generosity. They're exactly the same, but the nature of wisdom is the nature of rededication to omniscience. To enter the single characteristic with respect to this is to enter Dharma gate of non-duality. The last one is nature of wisdom. Wisdom and rededication of merit to omniscience has a duality. The wisdom paramita of listening, contemplation, and practicing. When you dedicate such merit to the omniscience, it has also duality, but such nature to the nature of omniscience is non-dual. And one who enters such a single characteristic with respect to this has entered the Dharma gate of non-duality. This is the teaching from the inexhaustible mind Bodhisattva. According to the Madhyamika Vatara, it says that the 6 parameters on the temporary level, they are the causal at the causal stage, and then they have a fruition stage. But in the ultimate point of view, the fruition and the causes are no other, because they are unconditioned dharma, they are independent. And once you realize that, you enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. The 21st Bodhisattva's name is Profound Wisdom Bodhisattva. His wisdom is very deep and profound and unfathomable wisdom. Some of our Dharma practitioners over here, I see that some has rather deep wisdom, where I notice that their understanding of the Dharma is very thorough. Not only they understand each words, they in fact also could use their own analysis and from their own wisdom to dig deeper in terms of their the meaning of the Dharma. But some are very different. Some are very vague. It may sound nice, but it doesn't seem that they reached the depth of the Dharma. The root and the principle of the Dharma are not grasped by such group of people. So there are differences in terms of wisdom. And over here, this Bodhisattva has profound wisdom. And then he said the three emancipations of emptiness, singleressness, and wishlessness constitute duality. The cause is empty. The fruition is singleressness. Sometimes it's 3 emancipations. The previous one, some talks about 2 or 3 or 4 types of comparisons. Over here, this Bodhisattva talks about the 3 emancipations. The cause is the cause is singleressness. It doesn't have characteristics. And then the fruition is wishlessness. In Sutrayana, when we look at the cause and the fruition, then there's really nothing to look for. And if one achieves the emptiness, the singleness, the wishless, and there is no mind, thought, or consciousness, in this single stage of emancipation are the 3 gates of emancipation. Once you understand the nature of such is empty, then all the 3 emancipations dissolve into one. Just as if 3 people enters into one gate, in fact, the city that they enter into are exactly the same city. If 3 people enters into the city through 3 gates, the city that they enter into is exactly the same city. It may appear to have 3 emancipations, but the Dharma or the nature of such is the same. Therefore, it is called the Dharma gate of non-duality. The 3 gates of emancipation, where they talk about the fruition, the nature, and the cause. If it's empty, singleless, and wishless, then there's no mind, thought, or consciousness. It may appear to be a similar thing that they talk about through the 3 words, but over here it could be understood through different ways. The first one, it talks about no mind. Mind talks about the 8 kinds of minds. And then thoughts over here talks about, or the 8 kinds of mental factor. And the thoughts talks about the mental formations, and consciousness talks about the faculty consciousness. Through the faculty, then we grasp onto the faculty consciousness, and then that's what it is. Through the six faculty consciousness, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. So those six consciousness. And there's a metaphor saying that the mind then is like the ocean. The thoughts are like the waves. And consciousness over here is like the splashes of the waves. The mind is the seventh consciousness or eighth consciousness is like the ocean. And thoughts are like the great waves that's on top of the ocean. And then the sixth consciousness, including the seventh consciousness, when it's manifesting itself onto the consciousness level, that is also considered as part of the consciousness splashes on the ocean. The consciousness also has two. One is discriminating consciousness, and one is the non-discriminating consciousness. So according to the Longchenpa's text of resting the mind at ease, there are different ways of understanding and analyzing it about different consciousness and mind. But once you understand any of the three, the singleness or the emptiness or the wishlessness, then you'll be able to understand that the nature of this. Each bodhisattva's teaching, after each bodhisattva's teaching, I will drink one sip of water. Is that good? When I drink water, I think you should contemplate on each bodhisattva's teaching and how it's influencing you and touching you. Don't drink water like me. And then the Santadriya Bodhisattva, which means serene capacity Bodhisattva. Lots of people who have a rather sharp capacity and very easy to be disturbed and very easily to feel afflictions. It's not like that. So over here, the Bodhisattva has a rather serene capacity rather than very chaotic capacity. So this Bodhisattva is it's very difficult for this Bodhisattva to have any afflictions. So we continue to say that the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, according to the Uttara Tantra, where it says that the Buddha doesn't have a characteristic and the Dharma is unconditioned, and Sangha, who practice the unconditioned Dharma, who is who is not conditioned either. Therefore, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, they may appear to constitute duality, but the nature of them are not non-duality. They're like the space, empty space. Whomsoever then can practice like such, then they enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. according to Master Jizang, where he quoted from a sutra, he said that if you could often contemplate on the three jewels from the ultimate point of view, then you will abide often in the truth. So we should pray to the three jewels, practice the three jewels, and the three jewels has this infinite blessings and merits, and it could bring you great blessings. If you could often chant taking refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, it could dispel lots of obstacles, and the harm comes from the maras. Even when you encounter any obstacles in your life, if you have any nightmares, and if you could chant the 4 verses of taking refuge, the verses of taking refuge, then all of these obstacles could be dispelled if you chant them 108 times. Sometimes, if it's the fruition that comes from your previous life, that comes to maturation from your previous life, then it's very difficult to dispel it. But for those of you who practice it normally, it will be dispelled. The obstacles will be dispelled. And once you understand the nature of the three jewels are non-duality, then you can practice accordingly to enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. I'll finish the tea very soon today. The 23rd one is unhindered mind bodhisattva. According to Master Chi Yi, he said that by observing the three truths, then this bodhisattva is unhindered. Why three truths? According to the Tiantai school, there are the truth of relative world and ultimate world, and then the connection of ultimate and relative world. Therefore, that's the three truths. The body and the extinction of the body constitute a duality. The body is identical to the extinction of the body. Usually we would see the body and extinction is one or other. In fact, the body itself, when it's appearing, it is extinction at the same time, because the body extincts moment to moment. Once you see the nature of the body is extinction, then you won't hold on to the body, you won't hold on to the view of I. So the body and seeing the extinction of the body are non-dual. And they're not differentiated. For people who are neither surprised nor afraid with respect to this, is to enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. From the truth of the body, the ultimate view of the body, according to Bodhisattva Charyavatara, where it says that if there is no body to begin with, how can you grasp onto the form of man or woman? And the Sutra of Heap of Jewels, where it says that all human bodies are empty in nature. Seeing the emptiness in the body, the mind will be devoid of attachment. So knowing that the body is already empty in nature, then you won't have any attachment or grasping towards the body. The grasping towards the body is quite grave towards everyone. one because everyone will hold on to the solid existence of your head, your hands. It's only because you have not realized the true nature of emptiness of the body. Through the adornment of Madhyamika, the precious garland of Madhyamika, as well as Bodhicharya Avatara, in both of the texts they provide different ways of analyze how the body is empty. The body is not real, just as how there are mannequins inside shops nowadays where people will mistaken them to be real human. In fact, it is the same as our so-called real body, that we have a hair, we have head and arms and legs. All of those, when we perceive such aggregates of, or the aggregates of all these parts of the body, then you mistaken it as the body to be grasped onto. But whenever you go to charnel ground and look at the broken limbs and different parts of the body, you won't grasp them as a person at all. Sometimes how the body is no other than the collective components of different parts could be expressed through human body made of rocks or mannequins and so on. There are different metaphors. And to neither be surprised nor afraid with respect to this is to enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. Surprised or afraid over here in the Tibetan version as well as the Sanskrit version, in fact, it didn't say surprised or afraid. It says that to be born or to extinct. Some versions are different. Some explain surprise and afraid in the way that the Shravaka as well as Partika Buddha, when they hear such profound teachings, they will be afraid. People who have the Mahayana understanding or capacity, then they won't be surprised or afraid. What I notice is that the Tibetan version as well as the Sanskrit version are very similar. I think at the very beginning when I started teaching this sutra, I told you that the Sanskrit version was found in Potala Palace back in 1999. So the Sanskrit version as well as the Japanese version that's translated from this Sanskrit version is very similar to the Tibetan version. So if it's no birth and no death, for people who understand such no birth and no death, then they can enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. But of course, if you follow this particular version in Chinese, it says surprise and or afraid. You can understand it from the commentary made through the previous masters, where they talk about the Partika Buddha and Shravakas, how they feel afraid and surprised, and how Mahayana practitioners with understanding of emptiness, they are not afraid and surprised. The English version, in fact, there are many different versions. Some of the versions are translated from Tibetan, some are translated from Vimalakirti, from Kumarajiva's translated version, some translated from French into English. There are different versions. Anyhow, whatever language it is, I think most of the versions are very similar because they're based on just just a few of the texts. The earliest one was translated back in the 70s. Lots of them are quite rare, especially in United States, to see such variety of versions. In India, there are different versions of Sanskrit versions, and there are different versions that's recorded by different arhats. So by comparing different versions, you'll be able to develop deeper understanding of Vimalakirti. The other day, Kempo asked me whether if I'm capable of teaching Vimalakirti Sutra. I think he had a great doubt on me. And at that time, I said, I think I can because I can understand 2 languages, and on top of that, I have the resources to compare it with different other languages. Therefore, I think it's quite meaningful to compare and then study, especially when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, the sutras. You'll be able to understand the profound meanings of the Buddha through different versions. Just as when you were studying Madhyamika Avatara, when you read into different translated versions or different versions, then you'll be able to understand certain verses in one version and certain other versions in a different version. So I think you should attach great importance to preparing to any classes when teaching the Dharma class. Don't just sit on the throne and then start teaching to others right away. Therefore, I think we should very much attach great importance to the teaching, because this is the nourishment of wisdom to everyone, and your language is probably not the Vajra language, so you should prepare. You should be responsible to all the lineage as well as the history and the teachings that's passed down from the history, so that you enjoy the original flavor of the Dharma. And on top of such original flavor, you can add some of your own understanding and your own view. Then that class will be very meaningful. I think some versions are different, but I also share my understanding and share the differences of different versions. The 24th Bodhisattva is Suvinita Bodhisattva, which means superior excellence Bodhisattva, or the Bodhisattva who understand and who practice virtuous activities to increase the virtuous Dharma, to have the mind that is very easily to be tamed, unlike lots of people who, as much as wanting to be a good person, a good practitioner, but their mind is very wild and untamable. Doesn't matter how the parents yell to them that you should sit down, but the child will still be very naughty and not listen to the parents' words. Sometimes when I watch people chanting, I see that some people, they are very attentive, and some are not attentive at all. The people who are attentive, they don't need to move their body, even if there's anything happening around. They are very immovable, and there are some older ones. Although they're old, but they're still moving around. Their body moves around when anything happens around them. It's really cute how they move their aged body. Anyhow, how did this bodhisattva respond then, or how he teach? He then said that the good actions of body. In fact, some of the versions said that it's a good action, but in the Sanskrit version as well as Tibetan version, it says that it's the precept rather than the good action of body, body, speech, and mind. So the precept of body, speech, and mind constitute dualities. I think if it's good action, it doesn't really fit very well over here in this content. But because of the previous masters taught in such a way according to this particular edition, therefore we don't have to change it, but I think whenever you are teaching it, then you should differentiate that instead of good action, it is the precept. You could understand it from the point of view of how good actions create the karma, same as the bad actions create karma. So you can understand it from the karmic point of view. The karma does not have any characteristics, and it is non-constructed. The body's characteristic of non-constructed is the same as speech's characteristic of non-constructed. Similarly to the speech.
如果可以没有坐相，这后面是分好可能不对。然后可以没有坐相的话呢，那么这个一也呢，就是也没有坐相，就是意思就是说，
If the speech characteristic of non-constructed is the same as the mind's characteristic of non-constructed, then the characteristic of non-constructed of the three types of action is the same as the characteristic of non-constructed of all dharma.
没有这种相。那么即一切法呢，就是无作相。那身可以三作也没有相的话，以此类推呢，就是所有的这个法呢，一切法呢就是无作相。如是能这个岁岁呢，就是无作智慧，就真正碰到这样的这个无作的这样的这个意义的话呢，那么这个是什么呢？就是这个不二法门的啊，就是三个一业，就是无有
body, speech, and mind.
那么这个呢，就是成为
doesn't have any characteristics and are not constructed. The good actions, I think after lots of analysis and contemplation, then I think if it's precept or vinaya, then it probably fits better to this content. If it's good action,
三是就三可以的三业是没有作相的，就是那这个恶业是不是有作相？就是好像也不好解释。
If the good actions doesn't have characteristic, how about bad actions? And then it will be a little bit difficult to understand this teaching. Therefore, it would be easier to explain this part of the content if the word is precept rather than good actions. Now let's move on to the 25th Bodhisattva, whose name is Punyakshetra Bodhisattva, which means the field of blessings. It is the field of blessings when you pay homage, when you have supplication towards the Bodhisattva, even if it's any bad actions towards this Bodhisattva, you still make a connection to this Bodhisattva in order to attain liberation. So field of blessing Bodhisattva is once you make connection to this Bodhisattva, you will gain merits rather than once you meet someone, you will be reborn in hell realm rather. So field of blessings, the sanghas, the monasteries, the monastics, they are the field of blessings, and sentient beings are the field of compassion, to give rise to compassion. So I think people should
如果真正称了这个别人对你的这种一种恭敬也好、供养也好，这样的这个对境的时候呢，那么自己的这个行为呢，就也应该
people once you receive
如法，有些是不懂得如法的，有些都是已经
materialistic things or merits or supplication from others, then you should
现在的话呢，就是也是
watch out for your own actions. Make sure that your actions are meritorious to be able to receive such
这是我们有时候也是
such offerings from others.
大家还是应该有一
In
种
cities
智慧和
nowadays,
有一种
lots
观
of
察
people who receive
尤其是我们
offerings
这个
are really not
藏传佛
very
教的
much
话呢
according,
现在一方面
their
来讲
actions are
它
not
是
very
有
much
很
according
纯
to
洁
the
的
Dharma.
但另一方面的
So
话呢
I
就是
think
很
you
多人
should
就弄得有点儿
really
不伦不类，就是在
make
很多地
clear
方的话呢
observation
到底是出家人还是这个在家人，就是很难分析的，就是有一些
to
所以我的这个
clearly
建议的话呢
differentiate whether
就
if
是
the
一个
person
啊就是
is
说什么你们
a
不瑜伽
yogi or
士啊瑜伽
yogini
木啊
or
就这些的话呢，最好不要穿
or
这个身影好一
monastic
点，还
robes
是穿
or
这
the
个在家
people
衣服
monastic
好一
people
点，不然
or
的
the
话
lay
现在在有些
practitioners,
地方的
they're
话呢
very
就
much
经常
mixed
就是有
together.
点
So the yogis
分
and
不清楚
yoginis,
就是
please
在
do
当地的
not
有些寺
wear
院里面是
monastic
比较
robes.
怎么讲啊？就是有些地
In
方是
Tibet,
可能他们的习惯性的，
I
就是他
think
们
in some
让接受
areas,
但我们在其他文化不太兴盛的这样的一个世
because
界当
of
中
people's
也许
habits,
可能不
they
能
can
接受。
accept it.
那这
But
样的
in
话，
places
藏
that
传佛
people
教
are
就
not
同样
used
的
to
那里的话
such
要
yogis
么
and
你那个显
yoginis
现的出
who
家人，
are
要么显现的在家
who
人
have not
这
taken
样
the
好一
monastic
点
vows,
当然
then
一般是
you
在家，一
should
般是出家
be
人，
very
就
much aware
就
of
这
your
样的话呢，好
attire. Do
像
not
是
wear the
从这
the
个上
monastic
面看呢，就是
robes
头发很多方面看的
while
话，我应该
having
是个在家
hair,
人。
long
然
hair
后衣服啊，
and
就是很多方面看的话呢，又是个出家
look
人。
like
然后
a
从
lay
鞋子啊，就是
practitioner.
很多方面看的话
But
呢，
when
也好像不像出家人，也不像在家
but
人，
wearing
还是有点儿
monastic
这个
robes,
比
it
较
doesn't
这
look
个
like
西方的一些就比较
either a
特殊的
lay
就带有一些
practitioner
时
or
髦
nor
的
a
一种
monastic.
有这样的。
This is
像在
very
这种情况
confusing
的话
and
呢，
it could
对佛
bring
教
great
可能
harm
是
to
不一定有利的。
to
当然，如果
Buddhism.
有理由
Of course, for
这
people
种方式
who
来调化众生的话，倒是也可以，但会不会
have
很
the
少？
ability
甚
of
至有些
taming
有的
beings
话
in
呢，
such
他
a
们
form,
真
in
的
such
是
attire,
对
then
佛教
that's
是
fine.
敬意。所以
But
说呢，
I
我们
think
这
people
个
with such
很多的这个
capacity is
现
quite
象呢，
rare.
在一
Also,
般的这个
on
实践
top
当
of
中
that,
也是很重要的，
it
就是
is
尤其是自己呢，就是经常
mostly
这个享
people
受什么
who
银菜啊，
are
这个享受
dressing
那
up
个
in
什
such
么
a
这
way.
个
They
就王菜啊，
they
就是
really
这
don't
种人的话
understand
呢，
the
就一定要
precepts.
这个注意，就是
And when
否
you
则的
are
话，我们的这
using
个很多
the
人的这个信息呢，
Sangha
就是
groups,
就很容易
monastic
这
or
个
Sangha's
获得
money
本来是
or
我们很多人是
people's
玻璃心，就是然后这个信心呢，就是玻璃当
or
中的更
people's
脆弱的一个东西啊。
inheritance
本来是信都是玻璃
money,
心的，
they should
什
be
么事
very
情都是
careful.
在时间当中马上就破灭
Nowadays,
了
people
脆
have
了
rather
就没有了
weak
但
and
我们的这
fragile
个信心好不容易啊
faith,
进入心轮当中是这样子
mind,
在
and
黑暗当
don't
中
even
这个
mention
善念
about
也
their
好
faith.
特别的
It's
不容易
very
所以
rare
这样
to
的
have
一个
such
社会
faith,
的
and
话
it's
呢
very
也是
rare
波是比较
to
大，就是所以呢，我们这个以中的
have
这个民
such
意也
faith,
好，这个哪
especially
一个
when
教派的民意
people's
的话
mind
呢，
nowadays
其
are
实你
so
们的这个
fragile,
上司们
they'll
呢，
get
可
hurt
能
by
这个
little
特殊的这个
actions.
行为啊。不管
So
是这个
you
喝
should
酒
be
也
very
好，吃
aware
肉
of
也
your
好，
own
抽烟
action.
也好，这些的话呢，我们暂时不辨别吧。
Especially
可能
nowadays,
是
there are
就是
gurus who eat
就我们藏
meat,
藏地
who
的话
drink
呢，有些是
alcohol, who smoke.
怎么说啊？就是有些是不是对
Then
他有信心，
people
但
with
是
just a little
就是对他有
faith,
一种
they
他是
will
大成就者的
get
信仰
hurt
一做大成就
very
者的行为的
quickly,
话
and
所
their
以说
faith can
他是
be
疯狂
lost
症，
very
是好像
quickly,
一种
just
变
like
异
the
就是这样。所以我们
lightning
暂时就是
flash
你们的这个
at
所谓的上司也好，这些的话呢，
just
不
like
管
the
怎么样，
speed
就是
of
像是一些大成就者，就是
lightning.
说明呢，就是他还是他的显现就无法接受
In
的意思，就是我们一般
Tibet,
藏地很
whenever
多人
we
说
don't make a
成就者
judgment,
的话呢，肯定是
we
不是大
don't
成就者
really,
撞着大成就者
when we
有这样的
cannot
但也许可能真的他成就者，我们就
distinguish
不管
other
怎么样
people's
但是你
activity,
自己的话
other
呢
people's
应
actions,
该
especially
至少
when
你
we
是
cannot accept their
就像
actions.
你说是要么是
We
在
would
家
fold
佛教
our hand
啊
and
就是
say
在家佛教
Gasanche,
要么是
which
这个
means
出家佛教
great
那么
Mahasiddha.
有些的话呢
But
就是以前是
mostly
那个
it's very
出家人
satire.
后来呢
It
因为
is is a way of saying that we cannot distinguish the action of this person, but we're not making judgment. But I have great doubts towards this person anyways.
所以说呢，我们就是这个
people who have great influence, who have great capacity of benefiting beings, or who have a group of people following them, do not be the kind of person who says one thing but act another, who drink and smoke cigarettes, but pretend but propagate the Dharma in such a form. In mainland China, it is accustomed to hold the 5 precepts as lay practitioners, to uphold such 5 precepts, and to eat vegetarian, to have vegetarian diet, and then avoid smoking and avoid alcoholism. Then in such a way, you should not teach such practitioners of drinking and eating meat and smoking cigarettes and tell them that it's okay. Okay or not is not based on your own dualistic thought, but it's based on what the Buddha said. So, do not be overconfident of your own words, nor having lots of doubts about your own capacity either. Do not fall into any kinds of extremes, but use any opportunity, seize any opportunity to benefit all sentient beings. I think those will be helping all the sentient beings. Originally, I wanted to finish this chapter today. I wanted to finish this, but many people say that I cannot. I guess I lost in such prediction. It's okay even if I can't finish. Wow, there's still so much left. So the field of blessing Bodhisattva then said that meritorious actions, transgressive actions, and immobility actions, or the kind of actions that leads to form and formless realm. The formless realm that's above fourth samadhi heaven, where they have only very subtle mobility. So the real nature of these 3 types of actions, emptiness, although they constitute duality in relative world, but the truth or the real nature of the 3 types of actions is emptiness. And emptiness is without meritorious action, transgressive action, and immobility. Not to generate these 3 types of action is to enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. Once you don't have any grasping towards good or bad or immobility, then you enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. Should I continue to another one? Maybe we'll stop here today.